So, I recently turned 30. It's crazy. It's just a whole new era of life. And one of the first things that I did, besides take a surprise trip to Disney World, which was great, is that I came up with some financial goals that I would like to accomplish in this new decade. I'm sure there's a lot of you guys out there that are either approaching 30, you just turned 30 like myself, or maybe you're in your mid 30s and you're looking around wondering, okay, where's that Lamborghini that I was supposed to buy? Or where's that yacht that my degree was supposed to pay for? Or where's that mansion I'm supposed to live in? And honestly, I can't really help you with that. But hopefully these 4 potentially simpler financial goals that I set for myself can help you guys out as well if we can all get closer to achieving financial freedom. So let's get started. So the first goal I set for myself is to have a net worth of $0. Yes, zero, just straight up zero. But just back up real quick, just hear me out. You and how you treat your money should be treated like a business. You should be able to keep up with what you own minus what you owe, aka your net worth. What you own can include things like a paid off home or the equity you built on a home, the value of your vehicle after you paid it off, some type of jewelry, anything of monetary value. And what you owe could be things like your car note or other loans like student loans or credit card debt. Now, a net worth of 0 is not a lot. I mean, it's literally, I guess, nothing at all, especially when you consider that the average net worth for someone 35 and under is over $75,000. But hopefully you're keeping in mind that that includes athletes and famous people. The list of 30 under 30 that you see on Forbes, yes, it includes those as well. So one number that's a little more pleasing that you want to look at is the median, or the number that appears more often. And that's a little over $13,000. Regardless, I do think it supports the fact that I consider having a net worth of $0 to be a great head start, because that ultimately means that if I liquidated all of my assets, not considering fees and taxes and stuff like that, and I use it to pay off all my liabilities, I could pay off all my liabilities one time, which will give me a clean slate and start off with, yes, no money, but no debts either. So I think it's really beneficial to actually track your net worth, but you have to keep in mind your net worth can be a little misleading. It really just depends on the information you input. Because on one hand, it could show that you're financially healthy, but on the other hand, it could show a great number and you're still not necessarily good with money. For example, let's say you have a Rolls Royce, really fancy car, probably worth a couple $100,000, but you have no money in a savings account. So the likelihood of you having liquidated funds for a rainy day or for an emergency is none, because you literally don't have it. So that's something you want to keep in mind, but I really think it's going to be great. Now, my goal to achieve a higher net worth, of course, is to have more income and lower my debt. And that leads me to my second goal, which is pay off all my credit card debt. As I said in my previous video, having a credit card, especially by your early 20s, is really great, especially because you're building credit at an early age. However, at some point, all credit cards are going to charge something called an interest rate. It's basically a way that the bank that gave you the credit card to lend you money makes money off that. According to LendingTree.com, the average interest rate on a credit card is a little over 20%, which is ridiculously high. So think about this. Imagine that you have a credit card balance of $1,000 and your monthly payment is $100 a month. If your interest rate was $0, then it would take you 10 months to pay off the $1,000 credit with a $100 monthly payment. However, if it was 20%, then only $80 is going towards that credit card directly, and the other $20 is going back to the bank. So instead of it taking 10 months, more likely it's going to take a little over a year. So it basically sucks. But there are 2 ways to help minimize the pain that is caused from interest rates. One is to make sure you pay off that statement balance before the end of the cycle, because the interest rate typically kicks in right then and there, and 20% of 0 is nothing. Or whenever you make your monthly payments, pay more than it's asking you to, pay more than that minimum requirement, so you have more money going back to the actual credit card. So next month and the next month and so on and so forth, that interest rate is going towards a smaller balance and it doesn't affect you as much. So hopefully this works out for you guys that only have one credit card, but if you're like me, you probably have balances on at least 2. And there are some strategies, specifically 2 different methods that can hopefully help you guys pay off those credit cards or any other type of loans. The first method is called the snowball method. Imagine taking a snowball at the top of the hill and you roll it down. Gradually it gets bigger and bigger. Now when it comes to credit cards and other loans you may have, it's kind of the same. You're essentially paying off each credit card by the smallest balance. So you're going from small to bigger to bigger. So it gets a little harder over time. But hopefully throughout this process, it's actually motivating you because over time you're seeing less and less loans that you have to pay off, which is hopefully motivating you to pay off the next card or the next loan. And then there's the other method called the avalanche method. The avalanche method actually takes more into account the interest rate rather than the balance. With the avalanche method, you're paying off the card or the loan with the highest interest rate, and you're going lower and lower and lower. Depending on your situation determines which one might be better for you. If you have multiple lines of credits or credit cards with a similar balance, but the interest rate difference are really obvious, then the avalanche method is probably going to be better for you, because paying off that credit card with an 18% interest rate before you pay off the one with a 10% interest rate is going to save you a lot more money over time. So my third goal is to have at least 4 sources of income. Now, I currently already technically have 4 sources of income. I have my primary job, my secondary job, the money I make from dividends from my stock portfolio, and YouTube. Obviously, there's some things I can work on, like being more consistent on YouTube and just being more patient. Same thing with dividends, that's gonna take some time to grow. But eventually I wanna be able to replace that second job with something like YouTube, and hopefully humbly use YouTube to build more platforms to make more money, including Amazon affiliates or even Patreon, if there's something I can offer to you guys of value to you so I can have monetary value for myself. Having multiple sources of income has definitely been beneficial in regards to paying off debt and saving money a lot quicker, which will ultimately increase your income a lot faster. Plus, it always feels good when you check your bank account and you see more money coming in rather than going out, and it definitely gives you a positive sense of financial security, as long as you're handling your money correctly. So not only should having multiple sources of income be a goal for you guys, but just like me, the ultimate goal should be to have multiple sources of income that are more passive than active. Have more sources of income that you can make while doing the minimal amount of work. And for me, that would include my YouTube channel, again, humbly speaking, eventually as it continues to grow and I continue to put the work in, and my dividend stock portfolio, which, speaking of which, is my 4th goal. My 4th goal is to achieve $100 a month in dividends. Besides owning a business, in my opinion and from my knowledge, this is the truest and possibly the easiest way to make passive income, literally money while you sleep. For me personally, $100 a month would be a great milestone, because in my situation, that can be enough money to pay off an electricity bill, a cell phone bill, maybe a cheap auto insurance, or even take that money and reinvest it back to my stock portfolio and then make more in dividends. All that's required for any of us to achieve that is to take money that we don't necessarily need and invest it into a company that has a dividend yield. But you really have to keep in mind of a lot of the safety aspects of it. You want to make sure that certain stats like the PE ratio, aka what the true value of the company is as opposed to what its current value is, are fairly close. And you can even check websites like dividend.com so you can look at their dividend payout history to see how consistent they are. And one thing that helps me track my dividend yield is an app that I use called The Rich. Now, The Rich allows you to create an account and you can input all the stocks that you currently invest into, but not only that, you can also input the amount of shares that you have and the average share price for each of those companies. And one cool thing that it does is that it takes into account the dividend yield for all those companies, and it tells you what your dividend yield is for your entire portfolio. Now, currently, it's taking into account the companies that don't have a dividend yield that I invest into, but when I removed those, last time I checked, my dividend yield was about 4%. So assuming that I want to make $1,200 a year, aka $100 a month off a 4% yield, I would need to invest about $30,000 a month, which compared to where I'm at right now is kind of far away, but it's not taking into consideration the amount of money I put in per week, or reinvesting the dividends, or reinvesting dividends from companies that have raised their dividends. So that ultimate goal may not necessarily be as far as it seems. And of course, there are companies that have a higher dividend yield than 4%. There are companies that I'm investing into that have a higher dividend yield of 4%. But again, you have to be careful with the companies you are investing into, especially companies with high dividend yields, because there have been a lot of situations where companies will drop their price for not the greatest reason, but then their dividend yield will disproportionately go up. So it looks like you're making a lot of money, but when you check their payout history, they've had months where they don't give you a dividend, or where the dividend is a lot less. So you definitely want to keep those in mind before you invest into a company that pays you dividends for investing into them. So all 4 of these goals for me are goals that I hope to accomplish by the time I'm 35 years old, but hopefully by the time I'm 40, there are other goals that I would have accomplished by then, such as paying off my student loans, paying off my car car note, which should happen by the time I'm 35 or 36, have a savings account for my future family, which I'll hopefully have at some point in life, at least have 6 months worth of savings in an emergency fund, and of course have maybe a 6-figure annual salary from all the money that I'm making from multiple streams of income. I think that'll be a really cool milestone to see, and for me personally, that'll give me a mindset that I'm getting that much closer to financial freedom. But of course, that's just from my end. I really do hope that these goals help you guys out as well, and maybe it will remind you of some of the goals that you currently have that maybe I don't. So make sure you guys leave all your comments below on the financial goals that you guys have in your period of time, whether you're just turning 30, you're about to turn 30, or maybe you just got a little curious and you're a little younger or older than that, so you may have slightly different goals. I'm really curious to know what you guys have in mind, and maybe there's something I missed that'll personally help me out. We can all be selfish here. It's perfectly fine. I do appreciate you guys watching as always, and until next time, take care.